Welcome to Staying Sweet, the podcast. Tune into my weekly podcast to hear me, Alice Bradley, delve deeper into building your personal brand, up-level your mindset and tap into your highest potential using what makes you, you, all while staying sweet, of course. Whether you're looking to level up within an existing business, start something of your own, or create a fulfilling, balanced and healthier lifestyle, each episode will be curated especially to inspire and encourage your own success. Plus, don't miss out on the Staying Sweet specials, a series of exclusive interviews and conversations with Alice's network of entrepreneurs and brand owners. Don't forget there are new episodes every Monday. If you enjoyed the podcast, please do leave a rate and review. For more daily content, check out @StayingSweetPodcast over on Instagram. Stay sweet. Hey guys, and welcome back to a brand new episode of Staying Sweet, the podcast. If you are joining me for the very first time, hello and welcome. This is a really lovely growing community of listeners and Staying Sweet podcasters out there. Wherever you're choosing to listen to this today, I really hope you enjoy the episode. Today's a really fun one actually, and if this is your first episode, this is very full circle. It's actually the 1 year anniversary of my podcast, Staying Sweet. I launched it exactly a year ago today, and wow, what a year it's been. Celebrating this first year of business is really what I'm going to be talking about today. And I think when you're looking back at what you've achieved in a year, you really do see your growth and you really see the progress that you've made, or the opportunities that have presented themselves along the way and got you to where you are today. So yeah, I just feel so excited by the prospects of my podcast already being a year old. I feel like there's lots to look forward to in the future, and of course lots of things I'm hoping to achieve this year. But even just looking back at what I have done and what I have created with this community of listeners and community of people who are like-minded, want to be like-minded with me, and just have a passion for their personal brand or business growth. I'm so incredibly grateful for all of you listening to each episode every week, and for my dedicated listeners as well who choose to check in, listen, learn, and just have an opportunity to, just be with me for however long the episode is. So yeah, I'm really, really grateful for the fact that we've hit 1 year of the podcast. Like, it's honestly mad. And to think about how much has changed in the last year, you know, I'm on my second cover art, I'm on series 2, and yeah, there's just so much to look forward to. I actually, guys, it's so funny. I was just wanting to really just sit in the gratefulness and the gratitude of my podcast. And you're probably thinking, what are you gonna say, Alice? But basically, I ended up ordering myself a custom mug on Vistaprint, with my podcast logo on, and I'm just sat here with my cup of tea, feeling so very grateful for this moment, sitting and recording, and just being able to look at that mug and think, wow, like I've actually branded this, and this is part of my personal brand umbrella. And yeah, it's just something that I absolutely love showing up each week to, you know, sit and record. So yeah, I just feel very, very grateful, and I feel like so much has changed since those first few episodes. I think getting my tone of voice down and working out what I'm going to be saying, how I'm going to be showing up every week is the real growth this year, just not wavering and just being true to myself. So yeah, I feel like this episode would be a good time to talk about celebrating your first year of business, looking at what you've achieved and what you want to achieve in the future, lessons that you've learnt, things that you can impart with other people. I think there's so many things that I wish I knew when I first started. I totally understand that that's not how life works sometimes. Sometimes you just have to take action and make it work. But with a podcast, there's things that I've picked up along the way. I've attended events at the podcast show, learnt about how I could have better marketed my podcast or better launched it or got more views or listens, you know, and downloads quicker. But every time you take action, you are still a step ahead of the person that wouldn't take action and would just wait to know everything and be knowledgeable. Sometimes sitting in knowledge isn't actually the best thing to do. And it kind of reminds me of a quote, even though I do have a quote that I want to give you. I'm going to give you two today. It's a quote that I used to literally write in my diary when I was at school. And I don't know, like, it's very like girl bossy, but I do still resonate with it. You know, the quote is, hustle beats talent when talent doesn't hustle. And it's so true. I think you can be the most talented person, the most knowledgeable, the most intelligent person, but if you don't hustle, if you don't get on with it, and if you don't take action, you know, the hustle is going to beat talent every time, because you've already started, you've already decided, I'm going to go, I'm going to start this, I'm going to make it work. So that's quote number one. And quote number two is actually an affirmation. And again, it's kind of linked to action, taking action. And the affirmation is, I take divinely guided action. I'm always on time. I think when we have this pull and this urge to do something, when we do it in the time frame that we feel instinctively set to do it in, that is usually the universe saying, do it now, like this is where you're going to need to start. And I really felt that pull last year. I felt like, actually it was in the end of 2021, I was thinking, I really want to use my voice. And the videos that I was creating sort of similar things to my podcast episodes, but I was doing sit down videos, and I just found myself like not necessarily reaching a wider audience. And in turning that video content about similar topics into a podcast, I've actually gained more listeners, because people are willing to listen to you versus watch you. So I find that kind of dynamic really, really intriguing. It's like, why was it not performing as well as my podcast? But, you know, at the end of the day, I was still the same person. I was still giving the same information. So I think sometimes how you package yourself will dictate how it becomes a success. And I'm by no means saying I'm the most successful person here podcasting. Absolutely not. But I've taken action. I've repurposed and repackaged my USP and my personal brand, and I'm, you know, going down a different route. And actually, it feels more in alignment. It feels more natural. And I think when I was sat in front of a camera, I kind of felt like I needed to look professional, and I kind of felt like, well, I'm recording this in my childhood bedroom, which, guys, I am today, but it makes no odds. It makes no difference when you're listening to something versus, you know, people who might consume you and watch you, whatever. And yeah, I think although appearances can sway opinion, having a voice and having, you know, an audience that listens to you is really, really important. So yeah, I really want to talk about showing up unapologetically in your business and actually taking that action so that you can celebrate your first year is the most important thing. And there's lots of things I've learned along the way. One thing really being your comfort zone and deciding to push yourself each time you show up. You're stepping out of your comfort zone. To truly desire something and believe it's possible is to step out of your comfort zone, but actually taking action and doing the work. That is where, you know, you're going to grow, you're going to evolve yourself. I think our subconscious, you know, deep down wants to keep us as safe as possible. So we have to constantly reassure it that what we're doing is possible. We have to constantly tell ourselves, I am capable, everything works out for me, this or something better, you know. That's why affirmations are so powerful, because it's rewriting the subconscious, stepping out of the comfort zone and believing that you're worthy of something coming to you. You know, every day, aim to try something new. I think that is where you're going to see more action in your business. If you can, you know, tap into that doing energy in other areas of your life. So, you know, like a new way of showing up at work, or, you know, wearing a new outfit to work, pushing yourself to try something new each day. And also trying to get out of the rut of routine. Like, routines are great, and don't get me wrong, like, I'm a Cancer. I'm a Cancer through and through, but with a Taurus rising, guys, oh my gosh. But routines really can hinder you. So it's important that you just at least give yourself a day, maybe, where you're just running on spontaneous energy and just trying something different. When you get out of your routine, when you try a different workout or you order a different juice or a different coffee at Starbucks, like those things will push you out of your routine. And you never know. You might actually find something that you're, more passionate about or you like better. I always thought I didn't like sugar in my coffee, but, a brown shaken espresso is my favourite thing. So try new things, push yourself in a new direction, because usually that's where you're limiting yourself. You're stuck in that comfort zone. And also, guys, excuses, and don't get me wrong, like I'm so guilty of this, but excuses are a form of self-sabotage. Telling yourself, oh, I'll do that later, or I can't do that right now. Like I am so guilty of this. But those things literally fuel your limiting beliefs and reinforce them. So giving yourself time, allocated time to get certain things done, is where you're going to see the most success. Dedicating maybe like a Friday or a Saturday to a certain business decision or task, or maybe it's something that you want to launch. If you can dedicate like a couple of Saturdays a month to your business idea, by the end of the year, in a year's time, look at where you're going to be, instead of telling yourself you'll do it and not actually making the time and taking the action. So I think in kind of planning it, but also not planning it, you've got to really balance those two things out, but just believe that you have time to do it, get it done and action it. Those things really will all push you out of your comfort zone. I think another area as well is this understanding of failure and rejection. So how you handle your failures, how you handle those rejections, those setbacks, those things going wrong, equipment breaking, or just things going completely off the wall. When you actually handle those situations well, that will really show you and show your higher self, how you level up next in your business or in your life. I think for me this year, I say this year, but in the whole year that has just passed, I think patience has been a big lesson for me. Like I had to learn patience in all areas of my life. Like I feel like I was being tested a lot last year in everything. Like the beginning of 2022 was brutal. I think the first half, had me, really thinking about everything, every area of my life, and it was almost like I was waiting for something to be successful and nothing was really picking up. And actually understanding what the purpose of last year was about. Last year was about patience, and it was about, how do I cope when everything goes wrong? How would a leader, or how would a CEO, how would somebody who has it all in life, how would they cope with that if everything went wrong? So yeah, just believing that you can overcome rejection. Sometimes, guys, when things don't work out, it's because they're not meant to work out. Again, I'm going to throw it out into the universe, this or something better. I always think that when things don't work out how you thought they would work out, it's usually because there's something much better for you later down the line, and you have to learn that lesson. You have to learn about how to shift your perspective. And yeah, I think I really did realize what needed to be done last year, and that was to start with gratitude, start with the belief that things are always working out for me. They're just, they're not necessarily working out for me in the most obvious sense. So it's that belief. I think another lesson that I've learnt in this first year of business is to stop settling. And, if it doesn't feel right, guys, challenge it. Take the messy action, yes, but don't settle for something if it doesn't feel in alignment anymore. Like sometimes when you have like a set idea, you can settle in that idea because you think that that's all that's available to you, but actually like there's so much more that we can't fathom. We just have to really like allow it to come in. And I think a really good way of seeing why you settle in certain areas of your life is to look at when you've actually settled previously. So maybe you've got the benefit of hindsight here, which reflection is a great thing. We learn a lot when we reflect, but look at when you've settled and what area of your life did this happen? And also look into why it happened, because if the why keeps repeating itself, there's an area of your self and your self-worth that you need to look into, and you need to do a bit of shadow work. So, in business, usually lots of our personal attributes come out in business. So if you settle in business, if you really want to launch a product and you had this vision in your mind, and it's great to have a really solid vision on how you want it to look. Maybe it's like a product that's made of glass and you wanted it to be recycled glass and it to have this beautiful pump, and it's this beautiful face serum, and actually you've gone to the first manufacturer that can do it cheap for you. It's not ethical, it's not really in line with your values, but you just decided to go for it anyway because it was the first manufacturer you spoke to. Are you settling? Probably. If you settled quickly, if you thought I'll go for the first option, why did you go for the first option? And I think if you're using that example, I think the why there would be the fear of having to find somewhere else, the fear of not finding somewhere else, the fear of, if I take a bit more time on this, am I going to lose out on my idea? Am I going to, decide I don't want to do it anymore? Am I going to lose inspiration and effort and action? Think about why things happen the way they do. And, when you're looking at settling in different experiences, you'll understand why. I've also heard quite a few stories from people, I think, who have worked for, I'm not going to say where, but companies for 5 or 6 years, been loyal, worked hard, but not been properly rewarded for their dedication to the company. Or maybe they've, only got one promotion in that length of time. I think with those experiences, it took them literally moving jobs to realise how undervalued they were, and again moving jobs to then be able to climb the corporate ladder somewhere else in half the time. And then they go, oh my gosh, why did I waste all those years on a company that didn't even care for me, didn't even want me to succeed? If something is stagnant and you put the effort into saying your piece and expressing your needs, and that company doesn't value you, you have to go elsewhere. You have to look outward from the situation. And I think that's a real, example of settling, thinking, do you know what? I'm a bit scared about trying to look for another job. There's not going to be anything out there for me, or it's going to be impossible, etc., etc. If you don't believe that you're worthy of that, better option, you're not going to look elsewhere. So I think sometimes we do ourselves a disservice in just sticking with what we have and what we're going through. And, you can apply that to everything, like friendships, relationships, you name it, stop settling. I think another key takeaway this past year with staying sweet as well is letting go of the bigger picture and making it make you feel a certain way. You can be really excited about the end goal of something that you're doing, but when you're hyper fixated on the bigger picture, you can actually really get yourself down in the moment that you're in. An example of this could be, I would love to have my own studio. I'd love to be able to record this podcast and you guys see clips of it and, hear me as well. But right now, that's not, where the vision is right now for the podcast. So I could sit and dwell on the fact that that's not where my podcast is right now, but then I wouldn't be taking action to record. I wouldn't be showing up positively to record to you. You've got to start somewhere. Rome was not built in a day. Staying sweet certainly wasn't either. So have something to look forward to. Yes, have a bigger picture. It's really important that you have that vision, but don't be fixated on it, because if you totally fixate on what's lacking and what's missing from where you are, you're actually going to turn down things that might be better for you or better suited for you. Follow the flow is really my advice. The path of least resistance, yes, it's a bit of a controversial one, but sometimes the least resistance, the place where you find ease, is actually your flow. So take that action then. I always think it's better to show up than not show up at all. So let go of that bigger picture. Try to just, launch a product, get something out there. It's all about balance, but obviously not settle either. I think as well, the final thing that I really want to leave you with, actually there's a couple of things really, but the final kind of lesson that I've learned is to let go of this need for constant masculine energy in my business and learning to tap into both, because masculine energy is great. It's kind of the energy of taking that action, working hard, being balls to the wall with your idea and your vision, but also let yourself be, let yourself tap into feminine energy, because you will lose yourself. And I think that was something that I was really struggling with last year, and it's probably why I was up against so many challenges, burnout, not feeling like I was worthy. It was because I was working all the time, but actually not taking action in the right way. I was just believing that I needed to work 7 days a week, go to bed at 1 or 2 a.m. I was self-sabotaging by procrastinating all day long and then working really late at night and feeling like I was, girl bossing because I was up at, 1 a.m. That was all toxic, productivity, and it was very masculine energy, when actually, I could be working for 2 or 3 hours, get all my work done and finish for the day and go and enjoy some creative hobbies, or go and paint something, or, go to the gym and exercise. All these things are so ingrained in us. And I think it's because of hustle culture. And I really do believe that there's this negative, I'm not saying masculine energy is negative, but there's this real belief that if you work hard, that's the only way you'll succeed. And I think working hard and overworking and grinding to the point of losing your actual marbles is not healthy. Have a balanced lifestyle, lean and tap into both of those energies. Avoid the grind mentality, because you need to tap into everything. You need to tap into your emotions, and you need to listen to your body. For ages and ages, I would just not listen to my body at all. And I think the last few years I've really been learning more and more about my body. But in just this first year of my podcast, I've realized I don't have to do that much to make this successful. And that's the thing. It's knowledge is power, and the people that are powerful don't overwork themselves. I don't know how to explain it, but maybe we'll touch on this in another episode, this masculine and feminine energy and why it's so important to business. But I think there's so many things I've learned that I could just, I did 22 lessons recently that I've learned in the last year, and it's quite similar. But even, more recently, things for me have been working out because of a perspective shift. I can even say the word then. Because of having that perspective shift, that belief that everything works out because it works out because it needs to. It works out because it's in my favor for it to go this way. Ultimately, I'm creating this business. I'm in control. I'm just, attracting energy, attracting things, attracting opportunities. And yeah, just something that I was thinking about actually in the car heading back to record this episode. Basically, the last few weeks, as you guys know, bits of my tech have been breaking. I've needed to pay for those things to get fixed. I had an empty tank of petrol and I need to drive tomorrow for a job. And I was just, putting money into lots of things today. And it just made me realize I'm so glad that I was able to shift my perspective on those things, paying for someone to fix my laptop versus me having to go out and buy an entire new laptop for even more money. I was able to pay somebody else who has knowledge, who has a service, who has his own business, and he's fixed my laptop for a fraction of the price, but I've been able to pay him in full and, bring energy and money into his life. So that was like, again, a perspective shift. And also going to, the petrol station and filling up my car. I'm so grateful that I'm able to drive to the petrol station, fill up my car so I can drive to my job tomorrow, like getting from A to B to C, etc. So yeah, just having a perspective shift on things, believing that it's for good that these things are happening. And again, it's just that belief that, the first year of business, the first few years of business, I've been doing this for, not podcasting, but just running my own business for a while now. And I think the lessons that I've learned is everything needs to happen when it needs to happen. And you're going to have moments where you go, oh, for goodness sake, everything's breaking at once. What is the universe teaching you? It's teaching you that, okay, these things are all going to be fixed at the same time, but you're going to have a nice long period of time where everything's working amazingly. So you've got that to look forward to, being able to outsource things that you would never be able to fix yourself. Like, my God, I could not fix my laptop myself. It needed another battery. It needed to be replaced. But thank God I took it to someone who said, whoa, don't buy a new laptop. I can fix this. Like, how incredible is that? So there's always situations, especially when you're growing your own business, where you're going to learn so much about yourself. And I guess really I want to leave you with this positive notion that you can do it and you can make it happen, and just believe that you are open and receptive enough to good things happening for you and for prosperity to come to your business. I truly believe you should start your business today. If you haven't already, start now. And if you're realizing, do you know what, I'm actually really settling in the job that I'm doing, speak to someone in management, speak to someone in HR. If they can't meet your standards, go elsewhere, and I promise you will find better, this or something better. As always, guys, thank you so much for listening, and yeah, I hope you enjoyed this episode. I can't believe the podcast is 1 year old today. It's mad, but yeah, I'm so grateful to everyone, and I can't wait to see what this next year of podcasting brings. Thank you so much for tuning in to Staying Sweet, the podcast. If you enjoyed listening, please do leave a rate and review, and I will catch you next week for a new episode.